One of our recommends arrest, suspension, and investigation with a view to prosecution of one Mr.Lagat. I don't know what stepping aside means. So for us, we want to see that person arrested. He can't still walk free, interfering with the investigations. We don't want him to step aside. He should step down or he be suspended. We have authorities to which he reports. We don't want this playing to the gallery that somebody says stepping aside, which I don't know what it means in law.
Actually.
Number two, this case of Ojwang, this is something we thought was long gone. In 1986, we had a similar case of one Baraka Karanja, who was abducted that way, brought to Nyayo House the way they used to bring us there, blindfolded. And when the court ordered that he be produced in court, they seem to have killed him long time ago. So they went in Eldoret and I think dug how many graves looking for him. So we are going back to a very, very chilling situation that we had gone through. Okay.
Just on what's happening now, I find something very distinct coming out. That in those days, when we had detention without trial, it appears that it was safer. Because if the state had no way of taking you to court, they would take you to prison and detain you without trial. But this regime seems to have another type of detention, which is killing. You know, I expect in those days, somebody like Govt Kariku was detained for several years, may have been killed. But in the absence of detention without trial, now I see this regime is just taking people to heaven. So that's something very new about this regime. Another aspect of this regime, which I find special, is that while the Kenyatta and Moi administration mainly targeted leaders for killing, this particular regime targets young people. You know, more young people have been killed by these people compared to maybe us. In the regimes of Moi, maybe they would have killed us and spared our children. But now, this regime is killing the future. I find this a very special thing. We didn't make one call, which I think maybe ought to be added, that a regime that has committed crimes to these degrees has no business staying in office. I think the Ruto administration should have the courage to just step aside and give Kenyans a chance to administer themselves. And I think in this forum also I wish to say that the comrades who have maybe tried to see whether they can work with this regime should also reconsider their position. Why should the opposition have a joint team in managing our affairs when the other party is not honoring the end of the bargain? So I also think that it's our duty to appeal to comrades who are working with the Ruto administration to basically disengage and give Kenyans a chance to really choose a new administration. Because as things stand now, the Ruto administration is in office just because ODM supports it. If ODM moves out, Kenyans can start looking for a solution. So I also want to appeal that this government is denied the support that's getting from patriotic people so that we can create the necessary situation for us to think of how to form a new government. Thank you.
That issue you raised about
such
provision in our constitution or in our law as we sit here today, providing for a constitution office holder to step aside. There isn't. Unless an investigation is already in progress. So that, for example, if it's a judge, the moment the Judicial Service Commission recommends an investigation, that officer then goes on, goes out of office pending the investigation. Now, the mechanisms for removal of or leaving of office of constitutional office holders doesn't provide for stepping aside. The National Police Service ought to have come out and stated that they have begun investigations, not investigations by junior police officers or IPOA. These are not constitutional offices. The provision under Article 245 is very clear, is a National Police Service. As we talk to you today, there hasn't been any statement from the National Police Service. In fact, if you look at that alleged letter of stepping aside, it's not addressed to anyone. It's very curious document, because it ought to have been addressed to the National Police Service, who would then immediately take the necessary action to commence or to initiate the investigation process. It is not upon a constitutional office holder to declare who holds that office when they are under investigation. He has no such power. So you can say we are being tricked. They do not mean business. And Lagat has to be held to account. You shouldn't just go into hiding, telling us you've gone into, or you've stepped aside, when the National Police Commission has not formally started an investigation.
And what will be your next course of action?
There are procedures, and there are Kenyans who have already gone to court to seek declarations of the High Court. So there are methods of holding him to account, and part of what is happening today in the streets of Nairobi is one of those mechanisms of people exercising their sovereignty, demanding action. That is a form of mechanism recognized under Article 1 of our Constitution, because the sovereign will always remain with the people, and the people are making that demand. They're expressing it through the Gen Zs in the streets now as we talk, and they'll continue doing that. So Mr. Lagat ought to understand that that history where you could just declare that you are no longer in office and you're going to be out for a short time, and during that time so and so hold your office, it doesn't exist in our laws.
And even to add, it's like he has suspended himself.
Who told him to step aside? Where is that derived from? So, like he says, the letter is vague, it's ambiguous. And I don't know for how long he is himself stepping aside, having chose to use that terminology that does not exist in law. The other bit which I wanted to echo, based on what he said, you and me, it is becoming clearer. And even without guessing, you would rather know who then owns these hooded individuals who abduct people. We can now emphatically know the origin and who is owning them. Somebody who is not using the legal means to do what is right and picking up goons elsewhere. And that is a trend that has been going on.